if it is that stories are so important, and as you said in just earlier, you just said, well, we hide away and we don't tell
Mm.
people, and I would have definitely experienced that in my life, where I would go back to my cave and kind of lick my wounds and get myself all set up and ready, and kind of, okay, now I'm ready, and I'm look at me, I've nailed the world, I'm back in. I'm just curious about what stops us, like, from, in your view,
Mm.
like, what stops us from sharing those
Yeah.
stories, from exposing ourselves, or just revealing ourselves rather than exposing?
Well, I mean, it's not easy to be vulnerable, and we can't always rely on people to treat us well when we are at our most vulnerable. And I do think that because we don't have a language for this, we don't have a language for talking about how wintering is part of the life cycle and how normal it is to drop out. Wintering isn't something that happens because we've done it wrong. It's something that will happen anyway, no matter how perfectly we live our lives, even if that could be a thing. And like grief and bereavement are such a good example of that kind of wintering. You don't get to choose that. Nobody would ever choose that, but it happens anyway, and it will happen to every single one of us. And the way we handle those times in other people's lives is often quite brutal, actually. We might make space for them for a week or so to talk about their pain and their hardship and their grief. And then after that, it becomes impolite to mention it almost. We kind of turn away, or we do wildly inappropriate things like jollying people along or telling them, oh, well, it's all right. Like we've got all these ridiculous stock phrases. And actually, I mean, at the end of the book, I look at the kind of stuff we share on social media nowadays, those awful panels that have got like an aphorism that, it's kind of like, hang on in there, and or like, you're strong enough to deal with this. And I find those unpleasant, I have to say. I think they are the opposite of showing care or the opposite of helping, because what they're saying is like, I'm going to shout a slogan at you and you just be quiet, please, because like I can't take any level of you being in pain. I don't want to hear it. I'm just going to provide like a one-off pat answer, which incidentally I'm broadcasting to all my friends, lest any of them irritate me with their feelings. It's so depersonalized. And I hear a lot about people saying, oh, we're becoming a country that's better at sharing its feelings, and certainly we're talking about mental health now. We're beginning to open up conversations about difficult times in life. But on an individual level, we so often refuse people access to our basic care and our basic ability to listen. And anyway, so sorry, that's a big roundabout way of saying, like, I think we create a culture of shame around our wintering periods. I think we almost explicitly forbid people to raise the issue of them. And then that just perpetuates the secrecy, because when it happens to us, we haven't got a role model, if you like, for how to survive it, which is why we have to turn back to stories, I think.